Man up. It's time for us to talk about Cinderella. Yeah, that's right, Cinderella. Here's what inspired this. I have a daughter. She's almost 3. She's very much into Frozen and everything Disney. And every single night I read her 2 books. One of the books she has is Cinderella. Now, granted, it's the much shorter, condensed version that you can read in 10 minutes, especially if you do like I do, where you just basically describe what's happening in the pictures and she's happy to go along with it, whereas my wife actually reads every word. But there are differences between men and women that exceed the physical differences, and the way we communicate and perceive things is very important to acknowledge that. That's one of the many ways. So, it's not like I go around thinking about, oh, Cinderella, I love that story, right? What guy would say that? But like every other night, we're going to read Cinderella. And I was like, oh yeah, that's what that story's about. Okay, so she was her dad remarried after her mom died, then the dad died, so then she's being raised by her stepmom and her stepsisters, and they're not treating her nice. So then she ends up, the fairy comes along and turns everything into a better version of what she had, this magical fantasy version of everything she's got. So the pumpkin turns into the carriage, or the mice turn into horses, whatever it is, turn into horses. She gets this dress and all these things happen. But what is it? What midnight or something? It strikes midnight, and then it all turns back into pumpkins and rats, right? Let's take that. I like what I just did. I was like, I think I'm gonna trademark that as my new move. It's like, here's my brain. What are you gonna do with that? I'm gonna give you a hair. I was like, instead of a hair transplant, I'm gonna give you a brain transplant. There, take it, go with it. That's my new move. So imagine this. We all know that I'm much older than most of you. We all know I've got my 20th high school reunion coming up later this summer. Yeah, so I'm 20 years older than you. So imagine you being, how old are you? 17, 21, 24, however old you are, thousands of you, thousands. And you think, man, if only, and I know that you think this because I see it in the comments all the time. Nick, you're so lucky. You're almost 40 and you have that much hair. I wish I could still have that much hair when I was your age, when I become your age. Now, let's imagine by simply putting that in the comment, that came true, just like with Cinderella. This fairy come along. What would you like? I'd like to have as much hair as Nick has when I'm his age. And you get bopped on the head with a magic wand, your wish comes true. So now you're, 19 years old or however old you are, and you know that for the next 2 decades, you're gonna at least have this much hair by the time you're almost 38 years old. So imagine, what a relief. What a relief. You will get to go through all of your 20s and most of your 30s still being perceived as from the rest of the world as having a full head of hair, because that's how the rest of the world perceives me. Let me just do this turnaround. Despite some diffuse thinning and despite receding hairline, the rest of the world perceives me as a guy who has a full head of hair. With that being said, this is now your life. You do not have to worry about going bald for the next 2 decades. You're going to be going into your 20th high school reunion knowing that you're going to have a full head of hair. Okay, you get what I have. We fax that, we clone it, we copy it, and that becomes you. You get what I have. But then it starts fading away. What happens by the time you turn 40? Things were going so well, but oh no, the diffuse things kicking in. Now I'm more of a Norwood 4. I lost it all. See, that's the thing. I think a lot of people think, if only I could keep my hair until this point in history, I'd be okay. But when the clock strikes midnight and the carriage turns back into a pumpkin, then what? Are you really going to be okay? Are you going to be okay with that? Even if you were guaranteed all of your 20s and most of your 30s having this much hair, and that'd be one less thing to worry about. And all your dreams came true because you got to keep your hair. You got to marry the most beautiful woman, and you got the promotion at the job, and then you became the president of the United States, all because you weren't bald. Whatever it is that people think that is going to hold them back because they're prematurely bald or whatever. Then it all goes away. As this will probably go away at some point. whenever that's going to happen, I don't know and honestly don't care. Whether it's when I'm 40, 50, though I definitely think I'll have a very obvious bald spot, definitely by the time I'm 40, and I think I'll definitely be having a detached forelock or whatever you want to call that there. I think by the time I'm 50, we're going to see it. I think until then, I'm going to have enough hair to kind of keep it from being obvious, and most people won't know that until I point it out. I think that's probably what, but I don't know. I could end up with so much diffuse thinning in the next couple of years that I'm just, might as well just shave it all off because that's all I've got left. So imagine that you shared that fate. No hair loss for the next couple of decades, but then eventually you just lose it all. Well, do you? When you lose your hair, would you be losing it all? Would you be losing all your confidence and all your identity at that point? Will it help that you're nearly 40 or even 50? Will it help when it all goes away because at least you had your youth with your hair? Or will you still be haunted by the ghost of hair loss? The fear of hair loss? Will you be like on the movie Bird Box? You had the blindfold on, and then you took it off for a minute, and you saw hair loss. And immediately, that's the end of your life because you faced your fear and couldn't handle it. My channel is designed to help you face your fears. I had a comment show up this week where I had a healthy conversation going with somebody in the comments, and they were asking me, why does your hair look so good? What are you doing other than taking BRB shampoo? I said, nothing. And they said, you're lucky. And I said, well, thank you. I said, but ultimately, if I lose it all, I'll shave it off. And then the conversation went south quick because they did not see that as an option. It was like almost offensive that I would even insinuate that one way to cure yourself of hair loss is to face your fears and at least temporarily shave it off. Me even just suggesting that as a way to help put them in a different place. It was a total Bird Box moment. So I'm asking you though, what are you going to do even if you get to keep your hair for the next 2 decades? Are you going to lose it all? Are you going to fall apart? Are you going to be able to re-identify as now, or to identify as a balding man? Granted, you're going to be much different of a person by that point in your life. But once the pumpkin returns, once the horses turn back into mice and all these things, when you lose this at whatever point, no matter how much you enjoyed your hair in your life up to that point, then what? Comments belong right here.